Hello and welcome. We've got 20 seconds before I'm informed that you can actually hear me. I've already had one false start, but never mind. Right, so I will be with you very, very soon. But first of all, if you are with me live, thank you very much. It's great to see you. And I can see so many of you. I can't possibly say hello to everybody, so I'll do a global hello to everybody. And I hope that you keep chatting through this and putting questions in as well. That would be great. Right, okay, I'm going to do some jiggery-pokery at my end and we're good to go. So hello and welcome. Tonight we are looking at how to create a table of contents in Affinity Publisher. If you've already done this, you might think this is deceptively simple, and you would be right. We've got lots and lots to cover, so I will get on with it. When I can find my mouse pointer, which has disappeared yet again. This is a common occurrence. Right, if you have never heard of me before, I'm Elaine Giles, a long-time computer trainer, podcast host and YouTuber. I work with macOS, iOS and Windows, and all types of apps. Affinity Designer, Publisher, Photo, Scrivener, Office, even Creative Cloud at times. Now, before we get going, we are broadcasting in 1080p, so we need to make sure that you can see us in 1080p. There is a cog in the lower right hand corner of the window. While you're down there, there's a like button as well. That would be rather grand if you would click that as well. But make sure that you are watching in HD or everything will be rather fuzzy. If you see anything that you like tonight, do subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss out on anything that we've got coming up in the future. Now, Affinity Publisher works on Windows and it works on Mac. I am demonstrating on Mac. Absolutely everything that you see is identical on the Windows version. Just substitute Control for Command and you're good to go. So, as I said, we do have a lot to cover. A lot to cover. We'll cover the basic terms and we will make a very quick basic table of contents. The type that if you have done this before, you will have created. But then I'm going to take you through making a table of contents completely from scratch. So we're not assuming that your file has got anything useful in it to help with the creation of it. We'll do the whole lot. Then we will cover formatting a table of contents. There are multiple ways to do it, some better than others. And then in addition to a single table of contents that shows you a single level of information, you can have multiple levels of information shown in a table of contents. So we'll look at that as well. In addition to that, you can actually have multiple separate tables of contents in a file. I will explain why you might want that later, but I will show you how as well. You can also include images in your table of contents. You might wonder why, but there are reasons. Then I will show you making it all click, which is a clever way of saying you can have your table of contents as a navigation device within your files. It's not automatic. You'd think it would be, but it's not. But you can do it. It's very simple. Then, as a bonus, I've got some table of contents secrets to reveal to you. Magic that you can make with tables of contents. Now, as I've said, we love questions. So if you're going to put a question in the chat, could you remember to put a Q at the beginning? It just makes it a little bit easier for Mike. If there's anything that's relevant as we go through, I will answer it as we go through. Do remember to put some kind of context with the question though. It makes it easier to deal with. And then at the end, we will have a question and answer session. So if there's something very specific to you or more detailed than you want to put in as we get started, then just save that for the end and I will stay around and answer all of the questions there. So, tables of content in Affinity Publisher. Let me know in the chat if you've already created them. Do you think you've mastered them? What have you used them for? I would love to know. So put that in the chat. Now, I am going to put up just 3 slides. And it's because I've got my screen to the resolution it needs to be. I can't really do much else with it, trust me. But just to make sure that you can see the dialog box, the panel that we will be working with, I put it on a slide. We will be extensively using the table of contents panel. Your table of contents panel may appear on the right, the left, separate, different monitor. It all depends on how you've got your studio configured, but that is the panel that we will be working with. And as you can see, there's 3 distinct sections that I'll be working with. So first of all, there's the table of content tools at the top, and there's 5 of those. I will show you what each and every one of those does. The second section is the options. And it's very well put together, to be honest, but it can be a bit overwhelming as to what tick I should put where in that second section. So I will go through everything that's in there as well. The lower part of the window is the document styles. And that's because the document styles are the power behind the throne of making a table of contents. So they're listed within the table of contents panel. We will spend most of our time at the top of that, looking at the tools and the options, what they mean and how to configure them to get what you particularly want in your table of contents. Right, so let's go and have a look at it then. As I say, lots to see and do, so we'll get straight on with it. Right, I have put the table of contents panel here. It's not docked on the left-hand side of the studio or the right-hand side of the studio. And that's because I need access to a lot of other panels as I'm working here. My screen is set to 1600 by 900, which means it's a lot smaller than it would normally be. But I think we'll manage. I hope we'll manage anyway. Right, so the first file I'm going to open here, why aren't my files where they should be? There we are. It's just I'm going to make a basic table of contents. So I have a file configured. You've all seen this one before, I think. It's the Christmas Carol file that I created a couple of years back, gave it away during the MapBytes Advent thing. So this is a real genuine file that's actually been sent out. So we'll have a quick look at it just in case you haven't seen it before. So I've got a cover page here, and then I've got not quite the preface, just like an extra leaf at the beginning. The preface is there on page 5, so I'm going to move this out of the way while we have a look at that. And in this one, I actually already have a table of contents. So what I'm going to do is show you first of all how to delete one, because we've already got one there. That was created literally just pushing a button. But one of the things that is one of the options in here is that you can delete a table of contents. But when you look at this panel that we've got, most of it's dimmed out. And the only thing I can do at the top is hit this button in the middle, which is refresh all the table of contents, update them all. But I actually want to delete this one so I can show you creating it. So what I need to do is to click on the frame that contains it. Still no joy in here, nothing has sprung to life. But if I click again, so I'm double clicking in there to actually put my cursor in the text, and the panel has sprung to life. And the one that I want to hit is the delete, because I want to show you creating it from scratch. So that has actually deleted it. So what we've got in this file is there are 5 staves, a stave being a chapter. So if I just look through here, you will see there's some illustrations as well. We're going to come onto those later. But we have chapter headings. Everything's beautifully formatted. We've got our chapter headings. And we want on the table of contents page to have a table of contents that lists those 5 chapters, and preferably only those 5 chapters. So I have a frame on this page, and that's where I'm going to put this. So in here, I'm moving to the end of that. If you're wondering what the anchor is at the end of that, don't worry about that. That's next week's show. Don't worry about that at all. But down here, I'm now there. So I am literally round that bit there. I have a flashing cursor. And there's 2 options for inserting a table of contents. You can go, if you've got this panel open, it's probably faster to hit the button on the left-hand side, which is Insert Table of Contents. But on many occasions, because making a table of contents is not something you do throughout the process of making a document, you may not have that visible. The other way of doing it is going to text, down to table of contents, and you have 3 options in relation to your table of contents, as well as the panel. Insert, update, and update all. Okay. So, oh, I see Peter's on the ball there when I mentioned next week. Very well done, Peter. More news on that later. Right, so from here, I haven't got any table of contents anymore. So I'm going to choose to insert one, and I'm going to do it from the menu. And that puts in our table of contents, and it's as simple as that. If that is what you want, you could leave now. But of course, you'd miss all the magic secrets, wouldn't you? So if I were you, I would stay around. But if that's what you want, and by some miracle, through nothing you did, it works, you get exactly what you want in it, awesome. Then leave it be, walk away. But there is a lot more to it, particularly troubleshooting. What happens when it doesn't work the way that you think it should work, and things like that. So that is creating an incredibly basic table of contents. I'm going to move on to creating one from scratch, but what I'm going to do with this file is I'll save the file, because we are going to come back to this. It's going to get much more complicated. So I will save that. I'll leave it open. You never know. It might crash, but never mind. Right, so I'm going to move and get my next data. So I think I've got another file for this. Or am I actually creating it from scratch? No, I've got a file. So here's the second file. Now this is possibly more like you would face. The reason that the last one worked was because everything had been done in the correct way. And maybe, like I'm saying, your file will be you've done everything the right way and it works. But there is a lot more to it. This file, not done in the right way at all. So I've got a note on the first page. So this is what I would do when I get a file like this, which could have come from a client with like, can you make that look like a book? Not like it looks right now. And on the first page, they've said it's A5 and the margins are set to 10, 10, 10 and 15. So I've got 10 on the left, 10 on the right, 10 on the top, 15 on the bottom. That's just information in a text box. It's there for no other purpose than to tell me that. So I can actually, with that, delete it. Not interested in that. I'm interested in the pages here and what has happened in here. So you can see this is a full book. It is Animal Farm by George Orwell. But it's not that long. I remember it being much longer at school, but it's not. It's 113 pages of A5 at a silly sized font. So let's have a look at what we've got on the first page. And it's a dual spread there. We've got a spread rather than an individual page, so it is laid out in book format. We've got the title of the book. We've got chapters, chapter headings, which go all the way through this. So if we go down somewhere, there's chapter 2 and chapter 3, which we'll come on to in a second. And we've got what would be the body text of the book in there as well. Now, first of all, we need somewhere to put this. And I'm going to use this as a project where we'll take it from this, which is hideous, to something that actually looks right. So the first option here on the first page, it'd be nice if we had a title, wouldn't it? Or even a front cover. And I actually have a front cover. So I'm going to go to Edit Place and I am going to find the front cover. So we don't want that one. Oh, come on. Oh, you're not doing it. You're not. There you go. You are playing ball. Well, you're thinking about it. No, not actually playing ball. Come on. Oh, never mind. I'll do it manually. Oh, no, it's stuck. I think this is default folder, but never mind. Right, table of contents. Right, we're in the second one here, and there's the cover, and it's actually an Affinity Designer file. So it was designed in there. It wasn't particularly designed for this. I'm going to have to move this out of the way so I can see it. So let's get rid of that and open that. That loads it into the cursor, which is what that down pointing arrow is. And I'm going to click in the corner. Oh, it's massive. So I'm holding the Option key down, that will be Alt on PC, and I am scrolling out so we can see the full extent of this. It's huge. But I'm just going to scoot it down in size, get it in the right place, and then I can zoom in a bit, get it in the right place and scale it to fit. So I'm going to place the corners there, take the top down, and it fits. And that is a replica of the first edition front cover of that. Finding that font was a nightmare, but I did it. Right, now we want to make a table of contents, and the first thing is we haven't got any space for a table of contents. What to do first? Do we make the space for it and create the table of contents? And if we did, would it work? So if you're with us live, put what you think in the chat. Right, first of all, as I'm looking at this, I'm not going to need this because now we have a proper cover, so I can delete that before we go any further. And that leaves me chapter 1 at the top, which is not styled. That should give you a clue as to what the problem would be if I were to insert a table of contents. If you would like to see that in action, I will do it. I will put a table of contents just over here out of the way. I will need to jump the text around it so we can actually see it. Oh, and it's centered and it shouldn't be centered. But never mind that. Let's just put it in there and go to Documents, Text, Table of Contents, and insert a Table of Contents. And we get this message, no table of contents entries found. So that's the first error you're likely to see when you're working with your table of contents. So this is what I said. If you're happy formatting your documents, you've been using styles to do it, and you've been using styles that fortuitously for you, Affinity Publisher understands as being, oh, that's a heading, then great. But if not, you're going to face issues like this. And at times you will tear your hair out. So let's do this the easy way. So that's the error that will happen. I can leave that there because it will sort itself out. Right, how does it sort itself out? I go to chapter 1 and it's not styled. As we look in the styles panel over here, it says no style, paragraph style, and a no style, character style. In here, what styles have I got? Now, I have this displayed differently to most people and differently to the default. Up here, you can show in a hierarchy. And I choose to do that because otherwise it's like this and it's just an alphabetical mess. So I do like to show it in the hierarchy. So if you're looking at mine and thinking that doesn't look anything like mine, maybe that's why. So I'm looking down here and I do have in here 2 heading styles, heading 1 and heading 2. So I will make that a heading 1. At this point, that is a heading 1. It should be picked up in the table of contents, but it's not. It's not automatically updating. It doesn't automatically update. That's what we've got in here. You can also see that the second option, which is to update the table of contents, is dimmed out. That's because, despite the fact it looks like I'm in the table of contents, I'm not. I'm in the text frame. I actually need to click in the table of contents for the options in here to become live. So if I refresh that now, let's do a refresh. Why are you not working? Oh, don't you love it? Don't you love it? That should definitely be working because this is a heading 1 down there. And if I go across to the table of contents over here, heading 1 and heading 2 are selected, but it's not including it. Why? And again, these are the kind of issues that you see. And that's because this table of contents is on the right-hand page, which, I know this is going to sound obvious, but the right-hand page comes after the left-hand page. And in here we have a sneaky option to include entries before the table of contents. If I put a tick in the box, now we see chapter 1. Now, it's very unlikely that you'll put a table of contents after the contents you want included in the table of contents. Think about it, table of contents at the beginning of a document. But it can happen if it's on the same page as your first heading 1. So that's the first thing to think about. If you're still having a problem after you've formatted it, then have a look at these options in here. And in this case, it was to include the entries before the table of contents. Right, the next thing we need to do to make our table of contents populate is to go through and format all of the other chapter headings. Where are they? Look at that. I've no idea. There's one, but it's not chapter 2, it's chapter 5. So I've missed 3. So a better way of working with something like this is if we go into the find and replace and we go into find and we actually type chapter and a space and press enter, it will show us a list of that text being used, which means I can simply click to go to chapter 2 and then I can select it, and in my styles I can apply a heading to it, and I keep going and I just do that. Now you may have done this a different way, you may have gone through manually. This is one of the secret sources later, so hold that thought, secret source later. But I'm showing you that all I'm doing is looking for the word chapter. Obviously I have to be careful because if the word chapter is used within the text, I don't want to format that as a heading 1. But I can see from the numbers on these that these are the actual heading titles. So I am manually going to go through here. There's only 10 of them. Now make sure you get the number at the end as well. And heading 1, 3 more. It's actually really easy to do. Obviously, if it's 20 or 30, you're going to be a bit peeved. But like I said, secret source, hang around. Right, and the last one is number 10. I have no idea what chapters 1 to 2 at the end is there, but I've got my 10 chapters. Great. Still not perfect though, but at least now I've got them marked up as headings. I can see them in here, but I wouldn't want my chapter 8 to start straight away there. But that's all to do with the formatting. The first thing I will do after I've marked them up with heading styles is I will go back to where chapter 1 is. Normally I wouldn't have this because I know what I'm doing. I've put this here so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to make sure I'm clicked in the table of contents, which means everything in here becomes live, and I'll update it again. And now I have my 10 table of contents entries, 1 per chapter. So that's working. It's working so well I can afford to delete that and create it again later. I could move it, but I'm just going to delete it. I need to make some space for this, for my table of contents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some pages in. So add a couple of pages in, number of pages 2, before page 2. And OK, I could have said after page 1, it's irrelevant. So I've created here somewhere to put my table of contents. So I'm going to put a heading first of all. So draw that out here, get it in the right place, just put contents. That doesn't match very well, does it? We'll worry about that in a moment. Right, so just put that above where I'm going to put the table of contents to indicate that this is the contents, like that. Then I need my table of contents. Now, you need a placeholder, somewhere to put your table of contents. That text that I've just added to that is artistic text. But the best place to put a table of contents is using a frame text. So create a frame to hold the text. I'm going to put that frame there. And I'm now going to insert the table of contents. So I can do it quickly because I've got this open just by clicking that button. And proving the point that although I'd done this before and had to update it multiple times, if you've used styles to format your document, it's easy. You can delete it, put it back, change it, all kinds of stuff, and it'd be great. So, is everything fine? No, it's not. Now, some of what I'm going to show you now is just purely layout. You wouldn't have a book that started on the left-hand side. It would start on the right. So we'll fix that, and then we'll go in and fix some other issues. If you know what those issues are, do put it in the text chat. I'll show you that so you can see potentially what some issues are. Now, I know you want to know how to format it and things like that, but at the minute, we're making sure that at a low level, it's functional, it's correct, and then we'll prettify it. Right, the first thing that I'm going to do then, I need this to start on the right-hand side. But I need every chapter to start on the right-hand side. So I need to sort out the style. Although I have the correct style applied, I'm now going to change the format of that style. So down in here where it is formatted in the text styles, I'm going to right click on heading 1 and I'm going to select to edit it. Now this dialog box is huge. There's so many options in here. But we're not going to have to make that many changes. So I'm going to start off with putting some space before it. So in the paragraph spacing, so we're in edit text style, paragraph spacing, I want some space before the heading. And I want something quite large, so I'm going to say 120. And at this stage, nothing happens, but maybe I need to click OK. I'll go into the space after, and I want 40 points in the space after. That's interesting. It applied the 40 points, but not the 120. What's going on? Well, we'll click OK just to make absolutely certain that it's not that we have to push the button on the dialog box. No, it's not. It's just not working. Right, well, we'll go back in and see what's wrong with it. And it isn't actually anything to do with the spacing before that's the problem. What we need to do is go into Edit Text Style, Paragraph, Flow. And in there, this is to do with where the heading is. Then I'll show you what the other problem is. But with this one, I need this to start on the next odd page. And as soon as I select that, you look behind it, it scoots over to the right hand side. That solved that problem. Still haven't got the space before that we've actually specified though. So what's wrong with that? So back into the edit style again. Back up to, was it spacing? Where were we? It was this one, spacing. And it's sneaky. You can specify your space before and it ignores it. But down here, you've got to tell it when to use that space. So at the minute it's saying no change, what that is referring to is the style that this is based on. But you only want 120 points at the top of a column. And okay, and that gives you the 120 above, the 40 below, and it starts on the right hand side. And as we look through the thumbnails, each one of them is starting on the right hand side. So keep going, right hand side. We've caused a problem doing that. Can anybody tell me, if you're with me live, what the problem is we've caused? I'm going to make sure that every one of these chapters starts on the right hand side. But as I click on a page, there's something there screaming at me that things are not right. What's wrong with it? So 6 is okay, 7's okay. Pro tip, 8, 9 and 10 will be fine as well. So let's go and find the last one. There's 9 and somewhere here is 10. There's 10. Right. Has anybody put anything? Oh, we got a question there. Could you put the table of contents in a table rather than in a text frame? You could for layout if you wanted to, but it's probably better. I've never done that. I've never done that. I would contemplate it for layout, but other than that, no. Right, we have Patience saying blank pages. Yeah, these red dots are indicating that we have unplaced text. So if I click inside it, I've got this triangle and I've got the eyeball. The eyeball is where it can show me the extra text that is unplaced. This option, the triangle, will let me load the text that's unplaced into the cursor and put it somewhere. But we don't have anywhere to put it because this is the last page. And how many pages would I need? I have no idea. So if I hold the Shift key and I put my cursor over the triangle so it changes to an arrow and a chain, and I click it, it will work the rest out for me. And in this case, now I've had this before and I have no idea what it thinks it's doing. This is a bug. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what it's done is it has actually put the text in there in that frame. But what it's not done is linked that frame with that frame. So the text has stopped here, which is totally ridiculous. It's actually put in all the blank pages I need and left me to hook them up. It should not do that. That is a bug. And it's a recent bug as well. So if that happens to you, I'm assuming that they're going to work on that. Load it into that one. So I'd have to go through and finish it. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't work and it's a big issue, you've got 500 pages, come out of Affinity Publisher totally. Save the file, come out, go back in, try again. Second time it'll probably work. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to have you sitting around waiting for me to do that. The principle here was that we've styled this in such a way that it now looks like a book. And we can go back to the top and go to our contents and we should be okay. Just to make sure, I'm going to update that. We've acquired an issue. I don't think anybody mentioned the issue in here, but we've acquired an issue. Right. It's saying that chapter 1 starts on page 5. Does it? No idea. We didn't add any page numbers, did we? But these are the kind of problems that you're going to hit. So, table of contents is one of the last things you'll do. So what you need to know about the table of contents, you may not look at until the end. But the thing is, to make the table of contents work correctly, it actually relies on a lot of other features. It relies on text styles. It relies on the section manager. It relies on what you've done with the page numbers to know which number page is which. So our problem with this one is it does start on page 5. And we've not told the document that page 5 is actually page 1. So what I'm going to do is go to Master A. I'm not concerned about the layout of this. It's purely for me to demonstrate it to you. I'm going to get a text box and put my text box down here, and I am going to put in the text, I'm going to insert field and insert a page number. And you can't see it. It's not big enough. Let me stretch that out. Where on earth's it gone? Good grief. Where is it? Oh, let me try that again. Ah, that's better. Right, there it is. I will centre that, put it in the right place, duplicate it, get it on the other side. As I say, I'm not overly fussed about this. It's just to show you what the issue is. So paste. No, I don't want you to paste that. What are you doing? Ah, come on. You can do this. You know you can. Let's get that one and copy that. There we go. That looks better. Right, and get that over there. And line it up. I only had on here, is that right? Now it looks like it's got two. It's playing with my mind, this. Good grief, that looks okay. I have no idea what it's doing. Let's check if it's right or not. No, it's not right, so you're lying to me. Oh, now it's disappeared. This looks like it could do with a reboot, to be honest. That's not good. Not in the middle of a live demo, it's not. Right, let's get this positioned somewhere over here and have a look at it. Right, so that is page 3 and that is page 5. What we need to do to make the table of contents correct is to make sure that the page number in here is correct. And the way we do that is to go into the document section manager. And we have one section running from page 1 to 128. What we actually need is another section. So I'm going to make a new section. It's saying from page 4. I don't really want it from page 4. I want it from page 5. I don't want to continue the page numbering from 1, 2, 3 and 4. I want it to restart at 1. And OK. And you can see this one says 4, which is correct. Obviously, I would hide this. I wouldn't have a page number. But the page number on here is the one we're interested in, and subsequent pages. That looks correct. We now need to go back to the table of contents. Again, doesn't update itself automatically. But I'm going to click in it. I'm going to bring in our panel, and I'm going to hit that update there. And now it is fixed. We've got 1, 11, 21, 31, etc. So these are the kind of issues that you will hit. As I said, that last one just worked perfectly because I had done all of this to start with. But I knew to do it. And if you were new to Affinity when you started and you didn't realise what you needed to do until the end of your document creation, then you are going to have to go back and do what I'm doing now. So we have done all of that and created it completely from scratch, and now it's working. We edited the styles, we've created the table of contents, we've changed the page numbers, and we've updated it. Obviously, there is much, much more to do, and I do believe we can do it in this file. So one of the issues in here is while it looks okay, the font isn't particularly great for a book. And probably we wouldn't want our table of contents to look like that either. So the first thing I probably do in here is make some changes to fonts and things. So Times New Roman works well for a book like this. So I'll make that a fairly big Times New Roman. And in here you can do exactly that as well. So I had a question about this. Right, this is how not to do it. Let's say I wanted that to be at, we'll go for Times New Roman. No, not Big Caslin. Really are being strange tonight. Right, Times New Roman. But I want it a bit bigger than that because 12's not that big, so I'm making it much bigger. And then just for giggles, because we can, we'll make it green so it matches the front of the book. Awesome. And that is going to be fine as long as you are at the point that you have finished. But tables of contents need to be updated, as you've seen. I've updated these multiple times. It will also automatically update itself in pre-flight. So pre-flight is what happens when you come to export the file. It is obviously referring to that as flight, and the pre-flight part is like a pre-flight check. It will check the spellings, it will check other things, and it will update your table of contents. Right, let's say in here I need to update this because I've decided that chapter 1 needs to be chapter 1, the big meeting. Right, that will not automatically be reflected in my table of contents. We know that because we've done that half a dozen times up to now. So I need to update the table of contents, and to do that I click in it and I update it. What do we expect to happen? Well, we hope that chapter 1 is now chapter 1, the big meeting, and we hope everything else stays the same. Oh dear. So we've updated it and two things have happened. Yes, our chapter 1, the big meeting is there, but all our formatting's gone. It's gone away. Right, that's because the formatting was applied incorrectly. It was applied manually. That is how not to do it. So you're going to need to know how to do it. Well, you know that in the document itself, we have been working with styles, that is a heading 1, and because it's a heading 1, it's included in the table of contents. What this looks like is irrelevant to the table of contents. This could be pink with a green border on it, if you like. It doesn't matter. That is not reflected in the table of contents. And vice versa. How the table of contents looks is not reflected in the headings over here. But you will lose all and any manual formatting. How to make that not happen? Click inside the table of contents. And if we look at the text styles over here now, they're not the same. Where's the heading 1 disappeared to? It's taken away some styles, but it's also showing you two styles that weren't there before. Which is we have TOC 1 entry and we have TOC 1 heading 1. And this is formatted with that TOC 1 heading 1 style. Now, you keep your eye on the text styles while I click away from the table of contents. And those styles vanish. The TOC styles are no longer in the text styles. So it would be really easy to miss this. So if I wanted this to be green and Times New Roman, etc., I need to make sure I've clicked inside the table of contents and that I've got the style that's applied showing, and I right-click it and I edit that style. Right, I wanted it green, if you remember, and I wanted it Times New Roman. So in here, I can change this to Times New Roman. I think I wanted it bigger as well, didn't I? So let's make it 18 and really bad. Right, the text fill at the moment is set to inherit it, but in here I wanted it to be green. So some kind of green down here like that. And OK. It looks identical to how it looked when I did it manually. But the big difference is this. Let's go back to chapter 1. And we've decided we don't want the big meeting on it. We're just going to take that back to chapter 1 and delete it. And then come back to the table of contents and we need to update the table of contents. This time we only want one thing to happen, and the one thing we want to happen is that the chapter name is updated and the rest of it stays the same. Which is exactly what will happen because now it's formatted it with a style. I've clicked away so we can't see that style, but when I click back into it, that style is there and I can edit it. It's as simple as that. But it's very easy to go wrong because it doesn't look like that style is there, but it is. It's also referred to in this table of contents panel where it says TOC style and it says TOC 1. And that is telling you over here, if you've got multiple TOCs, which one you're actually dealing with at the moment. This table of contents is actually TOC 1. It says so up there. So we know that this is TOC 1. Right, okay, so we've now done all of that correctly. We know how to correctly do it. And that will stick with this all the way through the process. If you want to make changes to it, if you wanted that a different colour, change the style. It's as simple as that, change the style. Now, one thing that you might be thinking is, what if I delete the table of contents? Then what happens? And it's quite weird. Sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. But it's very easy. What I do is I go in and I create a fake table of contents when I'm making a template. And I style it as I want to, and then I delete the frame, and then my styles stick. When anybody creates a table of contents, it's styled correctly according to the styles that I created when I had the table of contents there. Right, now we've got our table of contents. In what way can we format that beyond the font face, the size, the colour, things that might look grand on a table of contents? Because if we look at the one we've got, the problem we've got is it doesn't look like other tables of contents, because other tables of contents tend to have tab leaders on them. Right, now you may think, I know, I'll select it and I'll make sure that I'm inside it, and then I'll go to this table of contents box. No. For reasons best known, it's actually logical. The tab leaders that you have on a style are always defined in the text style, and that's where they are. So back to our top one, heading one, back to edit it. This time we need to concentrate on the tab stops. So if you go to the tab stop, you already have one, and it's set to 0 millimeters. It's also a right aligned one. So the tab stop has right alignment. This is because it's there, it's that one. It's just that there's not much to see with it. But in this drop down, you can choose what your tab stop leader is. So you could have a dot, you could have a line, and you can have a line that's higher up. So it's virtually, as it says, strikeout. So obviously we want a dot, and instantly that adds your tab leader to it. And all you need to do then is click OK. You don't want to do that any other way other than in the style, because when you update it, you'll lose it if you do it any other way. So we've now got a tab leader. Now there's many other things that you can actually do, but what you need to be absolutely clear about is document styles define what is included in the table of contents. Heading 1, heading 2. It doesn't have to be called heading 1 and heading 2, but a document style are the ones that are listed at the bottom of this dialog, this panel here. These are document styles. They have nothing to do with what the table of contents looks like. They are telling you what is included in the table of contents. Whereas, when you're inside a table of contents and you look at your text styles panel, that is showing you your TOC styles define how the table of contents look. It is nothing to do with what's included. It's what the table of contents looks like. And that includes your colours, your size, your position on the page, your tab leaders, the whole thing. That's included in the style. Okay, now we've kept this fairly simple so far. We've only put one level in here. We've got our chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and they're all the same level. They're just 10 chapters of a book that have the heading 1 applied to them. So I'm going to save that because I need to get different data for this one. So let's get our data back and get new data. Right. We're now looking at where you have multiple levels. And if you've been with me before, you may have seen this file. This was the one we used in the layouts. So let's have a look at about what we've got first. We have your app guide, we have what's your exit strategy, and then within the story itself, we have second level headings. So if this was part of a magazine, the top big text would be the equivalent of a heading 1, and the text within it would be the equivalent of a level 2. You might want that in one of two places, but we'll start off by making a table of contents for our magazine. Now there's only one article in it, but that technically should make it a little bit simpler. So we've got the word contents, and I have a frame that I can put the table of contents in. Before I do, it doesn't matter whether I do it before or after, to be honest, but before I do, let's give you a clue as to will this work or not. So if we go in here and look at these headings, what heading is it? Well, by selecting it over here on the right hand side in the text styles, it says heading 2. So we know that these in here are all a heading 2. So far, so good. Right, what's your exit strategy? It's a headline, not exactly heading 1. It's headline dark. And this one is headline light. Okay, might work, might not. Depends how it's configured. So we'll go up to the space that we have for the table of contents. And because I haven't got the panel showing, I'm going to go back to text and table of contents, insert table of contents. And it puts in a table of contents. What's in there? Well, it's got all the level 2 headings. Now, there's a couple of ways of working out what that's doing. Well, one in here, it tells you over here that it's a heading 2. The other way to check is to bring the panel up and have a look at it. And it's got a tick in heading 1 and heading 2. And that's why we've got the second level entries in here, but we don't have the top 2 because they're not formatted as heading 1. So you've got a couple of options. You could format your headings. So let's have a look at them. You could format your headings with a heading 1. That won't work because one's white and one's black. The other option is virtually automatic. You go into your table of contents here, and all you need to do is, if you want some of these styles in your table of contents, just put a tick in them. So there's one, and there's one. Now we've got another problem. Oh, good grief, what's going on now? Right, it has added them. Here they are. They are included because I've included these styles. But that's not right. I've got 3 entries for one and 2 entries for the other. What's going on? Right, that is because, let's go and have a look in here and try and fix the first one. This is not formatted correctly. It looks like it is. It looks fine. And if we check the style of it over here, the style's correct as well. So what on earth is wrong with it? What is wrong with it is I typed in your and I pressed enter, and I typed in app and I pressed enter, and then I typed in died. So it thinks they are 3 different things. What I need to do with that is to delete that and hold the shift key down as I press enter. And what I've done is I've swapped a hard return for a soft return. If I now go back into my table of contents and we look at this here, these first 3 entries, so let's make sure we can see them. We need your app died on one line. So we need to update it and scoot across, and now your app died is all on one line. What's your exit strategy isn't correct. So I've got another hard return in there. So I need to go in here, and I'm not changing the format, the style, nothing. It was me that put the hard return in, and I needed a soft one. Right. And I've just done it again. So hold the shift key down, and there we go. Right. And if we go back to the table of contents, we go back into what's your and exit strategy, and we update the whole thing. Now we've got 2 entries. Okay. It's not what it looks like that we're looking at, Renee. We're not. Right. So that can very easily happen when you're using artistic text. Some advice is don't use artistic text, but that's not right. Because you can do, you just have to be careful how you break the lines. And that is how you fix it. So that was fixed on multiple levels. There wasn't one fix for that. We needed multiple ones. First of all, those 2 headings weren't included because they weren't formatted with a heading style. We fixed that by making sure we put a tick in the styles at the bottom. The second thing was it had hard returns, not soft returns, so we took away the hard returns. It hasn't changed what it looks like, or the interpretation of it, or the styles either. We've just put soft returns in instead of hard returns, and that solved the problem. Right, that is one occasion where we've created here a table of contents with multiple layers, multiple levels of headings. We've got our ones here, which are bang up to the margin on the left-hand side, whereas the 2s are slightly indented. You can format these exactly how you want, and you would format them independently of each other. So these are top headline light and headline dark, and these are heading 2s. If you wanted to change the font on them, look at the hierarchy in here, which is why I have it shown as a hierarchy. If I want to change that to Times New Roman, where do I start? Because I'd have my heading 2, I'd have my headline dark, and I'd have my headline light. But if we go into any of these, it doesn't matter which one, we'll go into this one, and we look at the font. It says no change. No change from what? Now, I did a whole session on text styles. Oh, that was a good 2 hours on its own. Michael put the link in for that, and I'll put the link in the description below the video as well. But no change means it's an indication to you that this style is based on another style. How do we know which one? You click on the style at the top, and it says based on. And this one is based on a TOC 1 entry. TOC 1 is telling you which table of contents, and entry is the top level, and it's listed over here. And we can see, because I've enabled hierarchy, that the 3 TOC 1 styles live inside this group style called TOC 1 entry. That's important because it's the font we're trying to change. I could change it here, but if I do, I've got to change it 3 times, 1 for each style. But I can see from the hierarchy that all of these 3 styles are based on the TOC 1 entry. So if I go in here and I have a look at that, this also says no change. So this must be based on something. Good grief, this is like Russian dolls. It is. This is based on the base style. So I've got 2 options. I can either change the base style, which could have a knock-on effect elsewhere. I don't think I'll do that, because I only really am concerned about the look and feel of TOC 1. So I'm going to move down to the font, and where it says no change, I'm going to choose Times New Roman. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to choose a different colour, because that's really obvious when we've done that. When we've got a lovely bright red, it's obvious that we've made a change to it. So I'm going to do that too. I have changed 1 style, but it has rippled through to all the rest. So when you think about styling it, think about it at the level like I want a level 2 styled, but then stop and think, hang on, start at the top and work down, make the changes, because you will have fewer changes to make if you work through the style tree, the style hierarchy. Right, so we've sorted the styles out there. But remember what we're doing here. This is a single table of contents that has multiple levels in it. What other way would we be working with styles and with our table of contents to boot? And that would be where we have a file, work, whatever you want to call it. Let me get my stuff here. But where you want to have a table of contents for one element and a table of contents for another element. You might be thinking, why would I want that? Well, 2 occasions. So the first one is that you want a sub-TOC for the contents of a chapter or a story. So for instance, if I wanted a sub-TOC for this story, it would include all of these level 2 headings, but it wouldn't include the level 1s at all. So that's one occasion. The other occasion is where you have content within your document that you basically want separating out from all of the other content and having a jump-off point to get to it, or a list of it. Okay? So let's have a look at that. So I'm going to start off, I think the next one I had was a manual. So let me go and get some new data. Let's save that and go and get another new file. Right. Yes. This is one that I tend to use quite a lot. So this is a manual. It's not written or finished yet. It's a workbook. So let's fold this up and have a look here. What we've got in here is separate chapters. Now, it's a demonstration file. What is in it bears no relation apart from the headings that I've put in. But what we have in here is when you look at the chapter page, you have a number, which is indicative of the chapter number. You have the chapter title. And then you've got what we'll learn in this chapter. And it says thing 1, 2, 3 and 4. And if you click in here, this is just text. So you could do this manually. You absolutely could do this manually. But every time you make a change, this is going to be a nightmare. So the level 1 that we want is on the contents page. We want a table of contents that has the chapters in it. So we're in there. I'm going to add a table of contents. Doesn't look like there's anything in there. If it is, it's come through in white. Good grief, what's the matter with it? Ooh, weirdness. Weirdness. I love this because I have put some stuff in here and it is correct. I know it's correct. There it is, but that's not working too well. Never mind. We will press on. I'm sure it's there because there's something there. Just doesn't look like it's right. But we'll have a look. So we want our level 1 headings, but what are they called? So if we go back down here and we click in introduction, it's not heading 1. It's called chapter intro title. And that's why there's nothing coming through. So back up here in there, chapter intro title there, not a tick in it. So let's correct that for a start. Oh, and it's still misbehaving. Right, okay. I'm going to delete the entire thing and to start from scratch by putting this in. Right, there we go. Let's try that again, shall we? Oh, it's still being silly. Right, let's go up here and edit this and see what title it is. What colour it is, rather. Let's do a text fill, make sure we can see it. Come on. Can we see you? Oh, no, it's misbehaving. Oh, you know that thing, it worked in rehearsals? It did. It really did. That's not behaving itself at all. Well, I shall put a tick in the box anyway, which was our chapter intro title. Where's this? Ah, that's better. Right. So, like I said, there are bugs in this. That was clearly one. Right. It doesn't look pretty, but it's got our 3 chapters in it. There are 3 chapters in here, and it has picked up the 3 chapters. Now, the next thing I can do is go back to one of my chapters. So, like this one. Where did the Affinity Suite come from? And have a look what style it is. And it's body subhead. So the reason that I don't have 2 levels to my table of contents is when I click in it, body subhead, not there. If I put a tick in the box, then I get that. Now it's formatted appallingly, obviously. But in here, the first thing I would do is indent this. So our body subhead up here, I would indent that. So where is our spacing? Let's bring it in a bit. Are you going to do that? Doesn't look like you're moving. Oh, you're not. Anyway, that actually isn't what I'm going to show you. What I'm showing you is that you can choose the levels you have in here. I don't actually want the body subhead in there because I might have a really long chapter that's got 50 entries and I don't particularly want it there. Where I want it is in here. I don't want to put these in manually. So what I can do, I'm going to put this in a separate box so I can move it. I'll just put it over here so we can see it. And I'm going to insert another table of contents. So I've got a second one and I've got the same problem with this. We can't see it. Oh, I'm having fun tonight. Let's go and edit that and make sure that we've got a colour that we can see. Come on. Let's have a nice black colour down there that we can see. And if you're not going to behave yourself, there we go, not found. Reason it's not found, well, there's no tick in anything down here. But body subhead is what we want. So let's bring that in. Is that what we want to see? And it is. And we have our numbers in there. It's far too big, but we've got what we need in there in terms of the content. So in here, I'm going to make this smaller because it doesn't match anything else. This is just the manual stuff that you need to do. This is nothing to do with actually the mechanics of making it work. It's just making it look pretty. And you're still showing at 24. What are you doing? come on. 11 points. You're being incredibly silly. Right, but what I would do with this is I would delete this thing manually here. Get rid of that because I don't want to have to update it. But one of the issues I've got is if I put this, which is in a separate frame at the moment, not that one, this one. If I just put that where it was, which is kind of there, it's over the top of everything else. But all you need to do to fix that is change the text wrap. And if I change the text wrap and tell it to jump, however long that is, this text will move down. So what I've done in this file is I've created a table of contents that only shows a level 1. I've put a tick down here and it will show the secondary level as well. But this one is only showing the secondary level. It's not showing the level 1s. So this is one circumstance where you may not want the top levels. Maybe you want level 3 or level 4. You could have levels going on and on. But in this particular case, the level 2s are the sections within this chapter. And that's what I've created there. Right, that's the first occasion that you may want that. There is another occasion you may want that. So let me head off and get that file. We have actually already done this, but I'm going to use this file because I think this one is at the right point. So let's open this file. You've already seen the contents of the file, but we're going to get clever with it. So always check your file before you start. So I will just literally look through it. I've got a cover and I've got these pages at the beginning, the preface. I've already got a table of contents that's showing me the chapters. Is everything okay with that? Well, it starts on page 1. So let me check that that is page 1. There is page 1. It's tiny, but we can see it. It's page 1. That is perfect. But I carry on through the file and I come across these, which are the illustrations. This time, I want a table of contents that lists the illustrations. So I want to create a table of illustrations. It could be a table of images, a table of equations, a table of references, figures, charts. If you've ever used Microsoft Word, they have an extensive range of different types of tables that they can create. And you can create custom ones. And that's what I'm doing here. So, how is this going to work? I've got 8 images in this file. Each one is sitting on a page of its own. And to be able to create a table of them, I can't just say, go and choose the images. It'd be nice if I could, but even if I could, how would I differentiate these images from potentially other images that I don't want included? So the way that I've done it is, you will notice every image has a caption. That one says Marley's Ghost. Now, that's fine as far as it goes, but some of these images, that's kind of redundant because it says Marley's Ghost at the bottom. Okay. Some of them do, some of them don't. But I think it's redundant that I've got it in twice. One option is I could put it behind the image. But it's this text that's going to appear in the table of illustrations. That's where it's coming from. So let's go back up here. We're going to need somewhere to put it. So after page 7, I'm going to need 2 pages. So I'm going to add some pages, number of pages 2, after, and I want them after page 7. So OK there. It puts them in and I now have 2 blank pages to put them on. Right, and I have a text frame there to put them in. So this one needs to be table of illustrations. Now you'll see it's put it over there. Why did it do that? Well, this isn't formatted to be on the right hand page. That instruction came from being a heading 1, didn't it? Now it's in the right place. Okay. I'm going to press enter. That takes me down. Why has it taken me so far down? Because we put a before and an after on the H1. I then insert a table of contents and I get exactly what I've got here, only with worse formatting. All right, I've got exactly the same there. That's because the table of contents always uses the defaults. So making sure that you're clicked in it. I don't want to see the heading 2s and I don't want to see the heading 1s either. But now I've got no table of content entries at all. So what we'd need to do, I know what I've done with this, but you might not if this file's come from somebody else. So I go and I look at this, and this is the text I want in my table of illustrations. So I click in it and it's formatted with the caption style. So I just need to go back up here to where my table of illustrations is. I need to click in it, which makes the bottom half of the table of contents panel active. And in there, I put a tick in caption. And lo and behold, I have a second table of contents, but this time it's a table of illustrations. Is it right? Looks good to me. But let's just check. So Marley's Ghost. Let's go and find Marley's Ghost and have a look at it. And is Marley's Ghost on page 11? It is, because the left-hand page is page 10. Thus, this is on page 11. Awesome. Right, don't leave it there. Go and check the table of contents. Right, this one looks fine. This is the chapters, but let's update and make sure. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, what's happened on this one? Well, two things. Table of illustrations has been included because it is a heading 1 that has been applied after this table of content. So what can we do about that? Easiest thing is to make sure that this here is not actually a heading 1. So what we can do is click in it and make a new heading. So I'm not going to make it a heading 3. It is actually still a level 1 heading. And I'll put not in table of content. And I will take that out. Now, will that work straight away? Let's go back in here. Do I need to do anything else, or can I just click in here and update it? No. Right, that should be working. What's going on? Let's update the whole lot, just to be absolutely sure. Right, table. And what style have you got applied? It's still got a heading 1. So it's not got my heading 1, etc., etc. What is going on here? Crying out loud. New style, come on. Heading 1, not in table of contents. And OK. I know I've already done this. It's you that's ignoring it. Crying out loud, where's it disappeared to? Where has it disappeared to? I have no idea where you have put this. You are doing bizarre things to me. Do not do bizarre things to me. I don't see that listed. Does anybody else see that listed? Because I don't see that. No, I don't see it listed there, but that's what I would want to style that with. But you're still a heading 1, aren't you? Let's do them alphabetical and see if it's done weird things. Let's try that. Ah, there it is. That's the one I want. So let's make sure we've got the whole of that and say that. Right, let's go back in here. That should not happen. Right, to our contents and do an update. And because it's not ticked, if it was ticked, I did an update, it'd be back again. But because it's not ticked, I can take that away. And our contents are right. Are they? Are they absolutely right? In this case, they actually are. What's the thing I'm checking for now? I've been in this one and I've checked that the page numbers are correct for the images. Once I've updated this original one that has the chapter numbers, I want to make certain that my first chapter is starting on page 1, and it is. I can check that in there, and I can also check in here that we have page 1 at the bottom, and we do. So now we've got 2 tables of contents. You do have to be quite careful with the order that they're placed in. And once you've got 2 tables of contents, so we'll go into this table of illustrations, you'll notice that this is now TOC 2. And it says the styles are coming from TOC 2 as well. If I go back to this one, this is TOC 1 and the styles are TOC 1. Thing is now, how am I supposed to remember which is which? And what if I've got a table of illustrations and another one for images and another one for equations and references and figures and charts? I'm going to get confused. So what you can do in here, you can see that you've got TOC 1 and TOC 2. So if I switch to that, that is now saying that that is TOC 2. You also have down here, so the styles. So you're seeing that your styles are there. This is a good way to create a set of styles and then reapply them, because you might want all of these to look identical. Right, we are on the contents, which are the chapters. Up here, the fifth option is to rename. And what it's talking about renaming is the actual table of contents. So in here at the moment, it's TOC 1. But this is actually the chapters. So if I call that chapters, in fact, it's better to call it TOC and then chapters, because then you know it's referring to a table of contents. But that is now the chapters one. And if I go down to the other one, this one would be my illustrations. So instead of TOC 2, I can go here and I can put illustrations, and that makes working with it so much easier. So my table of illustrations there. You can, if you want to, in here. So this one at the moment, the TOC styles are TOC 2. But there is a drop down here, and this is where the dialog box starts to fragment in front of your eyes. The rename for the TOC is at the top, but for the TOC styles is down here. You can create additional TOC styles and you can flick between them, or you could rename them. So if you don't want to remember that TOC 2 was for the illustrations, you could rename that. So instead of TOC 2, TOC illustrations. And now you've renamed the style. So if you look at these, you've got the TOC illustrations caption, the entry, the heading 1, and it's automatically renamed all the styles for you, which is fantastic. That is brilliant. Love that. So we now know that this one is the illustrations one. And if we did want this to be different, so we could have TOC standard and just apply them all the same. Or we could come in here and make each one potentially different by going in and renaming that. So that would be TOC chapters. And now the name of the table of contents matches the styles for the table of contents. And your life is a whole lot easier. It's like not dimming X as a variable in Mike's case, and not labelling your layers correctly. Always label everything correctly. Future you will thank past you for that. But that's a really good example of when it's not just a choice to have multiple tables of contents. It's the fact that you have added a feature that there is no other way to add. These will automatically update, but it will always keep them separate. Now, bonus. I mentioned when I go down here that it's all very well, you know, it's coming from this text, which is great, but some of these have got or written on them what they are, and this is pretty superfluous. This is what I would do. I've selected the text, which in turn, in the text styles panel, has allowed me to select the style. If I go into there and I edit the caption style, and I come down to the colour and decoration, and I just say make it transparent. So the character fill is none. It's there, but you can't see it. That has no impact anywhere else. It does with all the images, but we can see where they are because there's a little anchor. So we can actually click in it and select it, but it's hidden from the output. As you can see, that one was the phantoms. And as soon as you've selected it, then you move away. Come on, don't make a liar out of me. Let me go over here. It sometimes flashes, sometimes it doesn't. Up here in the table of illustrations, you might be thinking, well, you would have been, but you're not now, because now you know better. You might be thinking, but if I refresh that, they'll disappear. But no, they don't, because the style of the text is totally different from the style of the text in the table of contents. As we now know, these are the styles in the table of contents. I like that. I was looking at it and I was thinking, I really don't like the fact I've got to put these captions on it. And then I thought, well, why don't you just hide them? And there you go. So they are still there. If we deleted them, then no, the table of contents would break. But they're still there. We're just not seeing them, which is fantastic. Right, what did I have in here? Already done that one. Already done that one. Oh, this one's good. I like this one. Right, let me go and get the data for this one. And this one requires a different file entirely. So let's go get it. And it's number 11. Right. So again, as always, when you have a file, go through and look at the file. What have I got? What is this file? What have I got? This file is another version of Animal Farm. There's no table of contents there at the moment. Well, let's have a look what we've got. It's all formatted correctly, but this time I've got little images representing each chapter. So there's Napoleon the pig, and there's the hen or whatever it was. There's a donkey and a horse. That's the donkey. There were sheep, and each chapter has a little image that represents it. And all I did was just place that image. In terms of placing it, I put an image frame on, but if I click that image frame, you can see it's got the image frame, it's got all of the controls. It's actually formatted in here. It's part of the chapter 1 in here. So if I go into here, it's a heading 1, and that's part of it. It's an inline image. If that moves, the pig moves. So the pig and chapter 1 are pinned in line. So there you go. It's an inline image from the pinning tab. It's in line with the text. So when the text moves, the image moves. But we want a table of contents. So again, we're starting from scratch. It's not got a table of contents. I'm going to put a frame in to hold it. So we'll take that bit at the bottom. At the moment, this is one column of text. And all I need to do to create a table of contents is hit the button or use the menu. So let's put that in. And look what happens. The images come in as well. They don't have to. So make sure that we are in there. If you have images placed correctly, like I do, and you have include inline pins, they'll be included. But if you take the tick out the box, they won't, and it'll look just like any other table of contents. But let's go back because that was kind of cool with the pig. So we'll include the inline pins, and you can see that the image is on the left-hand side. And then you've got the chapter title, which is the text next to that image. You've got the tab leader, and you've got the number in there. Okay. So far, so good. But what if I decided that that was like a little bit too much space? Well, with my frame selected, what would happen if I changed it to 2 columns? And it would actually give me 2 columns with the images. I'd have my chapter and I'd have my number in there. Only now I've got 6 in the box. Could I take it even further? Yes, I could go to 3 if you like. Now this is the kind of thing you see in like a child's book. But I'll leave it at 2 because one thing we've not looked at yet is it's all been very well so far, which was what I said right back at the beginning. If you're confident that it'll just work, then fine, I'll see you later. But we've only got 6 chapters and we know there's 10. We can also see the red eyeball and the red triangle, which means we've got an overflow of text. If we eyeball it, there's another pig. So we need to make space for this table of contents. It doesn't do that automatically. Now we could try the shift key, but that went so well last time. But it is a bug at the moment. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to add some pages after this. I'm going to add 2 and they're going in after page 3. Okay, let's put them in. And what I can do in here is go back up there and load the overflow from in here into my cursor. Move into this one and click in there. And there is chapters 7, 8, 9 and 10. You'll notice that these in here were in 2 columns. But these frames are completely independent. They're linked in terms of the content, but not in terms of the look. So in there, with that selected, let's get into here and go to the columns over there. What are you doing? Why are you saying 0? Come on. Let me in, let me in. Oh no, I know what it's done. I know what it's done. Operator error. Right, what I've done is I have added 2 extra pages, but they're formatted with a particular master page, master A, which only has a single column in there. So what I need to do is, let's make it blank. So let's apply this. Are you going to do that? Come on. It should promote that, which it has, which means that I can then make that 2 columns if I need to. But obviously I've only got 4. But if I took this down, you would see the horse, etc., pop over into the other one. But you have to make room for it. So you could end up with a table of contents like 12 pages, and you would just need to be aware of that and accommodate it. And obviously make sure, as you move forward, that this is still page 1. Because by adding extra pages in, you could change this page number. Why didn't that happen for me? Why did that just work? How come I was able to add 2 more pages in and not upset the page numbers? There's something to ponder. It's because in the document section manager, I had already created the book content. So when I added 2 pages, it added them into section 2, which was just my index that went from page 3 up to page 5. In fact, instead of that just saying section 2, it might make a lot of sense if I put table of contents there. So I know that that's the table of contents. And that could be the cover. This is what I'm saying about naming things. Future you will thank past you if you do that. So that's another thing that you can do. I'll show you in a more simple case here. So I'm going to select this, change this to 1 column, and lose the graphics just by taking the check out of that box. Right, extra things in here that we have not looked at so far. One option is to have numbers before the headings. So let's do that. And all that does is flip it round. That works better if you have this narrower, because it looks odd with the chapters on the other side so far apart. But if you particularly need to do that, it's just a matter of putting a check in the box and it just flips them round. Right, a couple more things in here to be aware of. I've worked with the entire documents. So in the scope that it's talking about, where it says document, I want it to search the entire document. But if we think back to that workbook in here, where we had that, do I want it, in this case, to search the entire document? No, I don't. I would only want it to search the section where the section is chapter 1, because I don't want all of the content of chapters 2 and 3 pushed into that box. So that's what it's talking about in here. Do you want it from the entire document, or do you want it from the section? And in this case, I'd probably put it from the section. I think we got less there, didn't we? Now, this document isn't actually set up 100% perfect, but that's what that option does. And then you've got look in all the text frames or look in the text flow. Now, the text flow, if we go down here, the text flow is talking about the book. This is the text flow. It's flowing from frame to frame to frame. That's the text flow. If I had some call outs in this, where I've got little quotes from Major and Napoleon, do I want those included? Now, there's 2 ways to exclude them. I'll give you a second to think about that. There's 2 ways to exclude content, at least. One would be to say, no, I only want from the text flow. But you wouldn't even need to do that if the call-outs weren't formatted in a format, a style, that was included in the table of contents. Now, if your call-outs are formatted with a heading 1 and you don't exclude them using the text flow, then they'll be included. But it's highly unlikely that you would use a standard heading 1 for a call-out. I might have a heading 1 dash call-out, which would enable me to decide if they were included or not. It's about being flexible. But that is what that option is for. The stop at the next talk is if you are creating a series of table of contents, like in the manual. So you can stop, you can not include anything beyond that. We have now covered virtually everything in there, but not quite. Not quite. So I'll use this file. Let's get rid of this and go back to our table of contents. We've got a fairly straightforward one here. We've taken away the images. Right, so we've got chapters 1 to 10. Right, we'll make sure that we are in there. And yeah, I'm on the right thing here. Right, so in here, this table of contents, it would make sense, depending on how I'm outputting it, and obviously this won't work if it's for print, but if you're making a PDF, wouldn't it be grand if they were clickable, tappable, touchable PDF bookmarks? And that is an option in here. Include these as PDF bookmarks. So the tick is already in the box for that. The time that we'll see that is when we come to export it. When we come to take this out of here and make a deliverable from it is when we will see it. So I've got pre-flight warnings. This is what comes up that I mentioned earlier. So I will open pre-flight and we will see how bad the spelling is. Yeah, it doesn't like a lot of these words because they're names or whatever. And some of the diction in this is, well, it's animals talking to each other, isn't it? So I look at those, and the one that's an issue is the red one telling me that I've got overflowing text. But for demonstration purposes, I'm not concerned about it. The rest of them, spelling mistakes, I would go through or add these to the dictionary if it's something that you're working with. But I can tell by looking at them, they're not really an issue. So I'm not going to be concerned about that. I will continue, and I will ignore and continue to create this. Right. In here, normally you've got these options, and the default is print unless you've changed it. So it's a PDF output. It's saying preview the export when it's complete. You get to decide whether it's the spreads, the current spread, the whole thing. So I'll just say everything. Just take everything out and export it. Right, against my better judgment, I'll put it on the desktop. That'll involve iCloud, but never mind. Right, so it's put that on the desktop and it will open it. So it will use the default app and eventually that will appear. And there it is on the other screen. Right, so it has output that content. Front cover's fine. Then it goes to the spreads. So there's our table of contents. That was the one that we overflowed to, and here's the ones with the images of the pigs and all the other animals. There we go. Right. So we output that to see that these were clickable, and they're not clickable. It lied. It didn't actually lie. What it did do was only tell you half the story. So that doesn't work. That's the way that doesn't work. But here's the way that does. So same process. I'm going to ignore and continue because I'm not worried about the spelling mistakes. To get clickable links in any export, you have to produce for digital output. So print, press ready, flattened, and all of these, like me and my MUFC one, when it goes off to the printers at Manchester United, I'm not concerned if it's got clickable links because it's been printed out on paper. But if you want clickable links in your PDF, you need to choose one of these. I'm going to go for high quality. Why not? Because I can. And export that. So I only changed one thing. And over here, I'm going to add to the end of it, digital output. It will do the same. It will open it up again. We will go to the table of contents. And now I get the magic hand. Now they're all clickable. So let's see the sheep on chapter 6. What I could also have done is I could put like an arrow or something on the page and go back to the index, which I didn't do, but I could have done. So let's have a look at chapter 10, which is one of the horses, wasn't it? There we go. So they are now clickable. So you need to do two things to make that work, not one, but it doesn't tell you that. Oh, why would they make it easy? The first thing is you need to make sure you've got the tick in the box in the table of contents, which is in there. So, where are we? Up here, include as PDF bookmarks. But the second thing is when you actually produce it, you need to make sure that you produce it to a PDF format that supports it. And then you will get clickable highlights. Right. What did I have next? Oh, this is the good one. You'll feel when we start it. she's gone back to the beginning and started again. But we'll do it much faster this time because I was holding back the magic for the bonus section. Are we all ready? Are we all ready? Right. I am going to go... where am I going to go for this one? I have data for this one because it's got to be just right. In fact, it's got to be just wrong. The data has to be the worst possible data we could get our hands on. So imagine that your client has sent you a file and you look at it and you think, oh no, just no, not on any level, this is bad. So I'm going to open up another version of Animal Farm. It's the one we saw earlier. Right, so I'm going to go to the pages so we can see what we've got. And it's bad. It's really bad. Right, none of this text is formatted at all. So you knew last time I had to go through and format it manually and everything. Oh, and I did. And it wasn't bad, I suppose. But you know what? There's a better way. And we always like a better way, especially if it's sprinkled with hidden magic, which this is. So first thing I'm going to do, pretty much like I did last time. I am not interested in the instructions on the first page. We can get rid of that. In this page, I don't need the title. So get rid of that line and I'm virtually good to go. But you know, we might as well put the title, the cover in as well, mightn't we? So we'll go down to place and we will get that file that we had before, which wasn't on the desktop. No, it was in here and we are now down to there. And there's our cover. So let's get that out of the way and open up the cover. And we did need to shrink it down a lot. So we'll place it, but it'll be huge. And we will shrink it down to fit. Right, once we've done that, this is like a real job that you would need to do. You would have a look at what you've got and you would start formatting it. And you'd probably lose the will to live. Right, what should I do when it comes to formatting this? Well, there's a lot of it that is going to be body text, really. I just want that to be body text. But the chapters need to be chapters. And you saw how I did that. I ran a search and replace for the text chapter. But I couldn't replace because the chapter number was different every time. Here is the magic. Right, we can type in here, chapter 1. And we can replace it with a style. So if I wanted to replace that, I could choose a paragraph style and I could say replace the text of chapter 1 with heading 1, like that. So I can find it, there it is, and I can do a replace. And it then takes me to the next one, which is chapter 10, which I could do, but I have to be thinking about this 0 at the end. That's pretty good. As it goes, that's pretty good. I'm whipping back to the top now because there's an even better way. So I'm going to undo that. Let's do it all by hand. Right, I don't want to actually search for the text. I need this to work in one pass for every chapter heading. And this is how you do it. You use this cog at the top. And instead of searching for styles and stuff, because there are none, we've already ascertained that, not styled, nothing. But it's Avenir book 24. So if I go in here and choose format and I choose Avenir and I choose book and I choose 24 and OK, and then I run the find on it, it finds all the chapter headings because they are unformatted but manually formatted as Avenir book 24. Okay, and all I need to do on the cog is replace that with a heading 1 and do a replace all. Tell me that worked. Did that not work? That should definitely have worked. Replace with heading 1. Are you going to do that? You found it. There we go. So if I go to the pages now, we should see some headings here. They're not going to be in the right place, but we've got our heading 1s. Oh, wow. Gets even better than that. What I then did, if you remember, was in my heading 1, I actually formatted it. I made a few changes. And my changes were They were in the flow and the spacings. So I said 120 points before. I said 40 points after. So 40 after. You'll see in here we have actually got that at the moment. There were no other traits in here I had to work with. But I only want this to work at the column top. And I need in the flow to have this where it starts on the next odd page. And OK. And that would probably take me less than 20 seconds. I've virtually got that laid out as I want. I do have a bit of an issue, which is how do I get all of the rest of the text formatted as body? Well, I could select the lot, couldn't I, and apply a body style. No, can't do that because it's going to overwrite the chapters because they're within the flow of my document. Darn it. But it can be done because the rest of this was plain text as it was imported. It's just plain text. So what does this look like? It's Avenir Book 16. So you know what's coming. Right, we go into our Find and Replace and we will change the format, not for 24, but for 16. And OK that. And we do not want it replacing with a heading 1. We want it replacing with body. So we can do a find. And what it's finding, I know it looks like there's only a few paragraphs. That is all of the text. So if we do a replace on that, we've now got that formatted as body. So if I just select some of this, it's formatted as body. It doesn't look like I want it to look, but it doesn't matter because now it's a style. So let's weave more magic. Right, let's have a look at the body style. So I'm going to edit the body style. I want to know what that is based on. So if I look at this, it's based on the base style. OK, and the only other style that I'm using is the heading 1. So if I go to the heading 1 and have a look at that, that's based on the base style as well. The base style is not a style that you particularly apply. It's a style that other things are based on. So if we turn this back to the hierarchy that upset it so much earlier, the base style's at the very top. And when you fold this, you can see all the styles that come off the base style. So the place to apply the Times New Roman is to the base style, because if I do that, I don't have to change it in multiple places. So at the moment it's Arial and it's 12. If I change that to Times New Roman, and 12's probably a little bit big, so should we make it 11? OK. Now I've got the font that I want, and it's applied to both the headings and in here as well. And I'm pretty much done. And it took seconds. Because the Find and Replace, which looks like it can find text and replace it with text, has hidden magic under the cogs, including not just looking for one style and replacing it with another style, but actually looking for plain format from a text file and changing that, replacing it with a style. It's genius. You can even use that to reset all the format if you want. But I've been using it for that kind of job where the alternative is a nightmare. If you could say, there's a thing called a regex search, which it doesn't do to the degree it would need to. But that would enable you, if it did, to do a search for chapter and any number following it. But to be honest, you don't need that because it works as is if you're searching for something else rather than the content. You can search for the content if you want. So if you wanted every instance of the word Napoleon to be like red font, you could do that. You could find the word Napoleon and you could manually apply a red font to it. But the way I've done it there, which to me is the magic way, is that I have taken unformatted text that was just slung in here, and I formatted the entire book and the chapters and then just made a few tweaks to the styles and the whole thing is formatted. So that was the magic one, the Find and Replace. I'm seeing I've got lots of questions, but that is it for the demo. So I will do an out on here and then I will go in and I will sort out the Q's and the A's. So, where were we up to? Good grief. I was going to recap. That's exactly where I was up to. So, there was a lot there. There was the terms, so all of the features within there. There's creating a basic table of contents, which if you have inadvertently or advertently, you know, because you've sorted yourself out, if you've done everything right, you know, you've got page numbers correct, you've got sections correct, you've got text styles correct, then making the table of contents will be an absolute doddle. If it's not, if you've inherited a file from somebody else, or it's a file that you started when you knew less about Affinity Publisher than you do now, you may need to deploy some of the tactics that I did. But it's not difficult, it's just a matter of doing things in the right order. So that's why I created one completely from scratch. You can format your table of contents, you can have multiple levels within a single table of contents, or separate multiple tables of contents. And the two examples of that was the manual and the table of illustrations. So one was per chapter, the other one was per book, but it was for all of the illustrations. And that hung off having the captions on the illustrations, but then we hid them by taking the colour out of the font. Oh, then there was the images, the inline images, Pig, Napoleon and his friends. Making it all click was making sure that the PDF that you've put the tick in the box does actually click. That's a two-step process, which they don't tell you. But once you've got it in your head that to get something clickable in a PDF, you have to choose digital as the output, the rest just falls into place. Just make sure the tick is then in the box. And then there was the table of contents secrets, where you are unable to create a table of contents without having formatted material. And formatting an entire book could take a while, but not if you know the power of the search and replace. So hopefully that has been useful to you. We do have more Affinity Publisher sessions, including, as Peter picked up very early on, next week. We did have a date, but now it's in the balance. So it will be next week. I just don't know what day yet. So what you need to do is make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell and subscribe to my newsletter, and then you'll know when it is. But it's how to create an index in Affinity Publisher. So a table of contents is usually at the beginning of a book, whereas the index is at the end, and the index indexes the content. The table of contents is in the order the material is in the book, but an index is an alphabetical index to the book. So that is the next one. Right, all of this is available on demand. So there is an All Things Affinity playlist, which has all of the videos in it, and it will have this one in already, I do believe. So just point and press at that. There's also an Affinity Publisher only playlist, which has all of the Affinity Publisher stuff in it, including the one we did a couple of weeks back, which was mastering page layouts in Affinity Publisher. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, because I wouldn't want you to miss out. And of course, we love you guys. If you found anything in here useful, please give us a like. It really makes a difference. The newsletter that I mentioned is at elainegiles.com/VIP. And we need to look at some questions now, don't we? And yet again, Mike, I've put the questions where they can't be seen. So, I will do one thing and then we will get back to the questions, but carry on once I've done that. Once I've found my questions, come out of there, find me questions. Are all the questions in there? Because there's looks like there's lots of questions. There is. Right, okay, I will move that across there. We will do that. I will do that. Then I'll press more magic buttons and we'll be back where we started. Right, there we go. Okay, you should be seeing what I'm seeing. You are. Right, where am I starting here? Oh, right, here we go. Imagine we can also place a personal photo for our book. Ooh, what was that in relation to?
I don't know, it was early on.
Can you give me a little bit more information on that, Daniela, if you're still with us? If it's just inserting a photo, absolutely, yes, you can. There's two ways to insert images, the good way and the not so good way. The best way is to make an image frame and then put your image in the image frame. The reason that's better is if you need to crop it, the image frame has all of that built in and it just makes it a whole lot easier to work with the file. So from the tools, you will see there is an image placeholder. Drag that on and then drag your image to it. Okay. Could we leave the page before every chapter blank? Yes, you could. I did that. Now, do you mean every page, or do you mean have the page start on the right? You can leave a page if you want. How I did it, where every page started on the right, was by saying start the page on the next odd page number. That was how I did it, but yes, you can. Right, Patience. Is the Affinity book I was working on something I'll be publishing? If I'd written it, I couldn't I? Maybe I should get round to that. Here's a question for you guys. If I did write a book, would you buy it? Because that's quite a time-consuming occupation, that. Let you put the answer into that, and Mike will post it in here, and then I'll be able to see it. Right. Patricia, now, big question. Oh, in capitals. In capitals, no less. Right. If I change the names, will it affect previous projects? Styles. Right. No. No. What you'd need to think about with that is, if you're making a book, a document, whatever it is you're making, are you making the item, an individual copy of the thing, or are you making a template? If you're making a template, you want everything in the template to be right before you start. But even if you make something based on a template, changing the style names within the instance of the template won't change it in the template. So it's on a per file basis. Could you decrease the size of the pics? Which pics were these? This is from Renee.
Don't know.
It could either be, depending on when you put that question in, Renee, it could either be the pigs and the animals, or it could be the plates in A Christmas Carol. Yes, you could. You could have them any size you wanted. I stretched them out to fit the page. Obviously, they were scanned about 20 years ago from an original first edition, so the quality's not the best. But I'm showing principle. So when you're looking at it, it's like, that's 1 pixel out. I don't care, because I'm showing you principle. If I was showing you layout, I'd have to make sure it was right. But I was showing principle. And in the original books, they were shown in 2 sizes. They were either the full page or they were 3/4 of the page. But I didn't really want to fiddle around with that, so I laid them out on a full page. That actually did give me issues, because I wanted each image pinned to a certain paragraph. And that doesn't work too well. I know where the image should be, but if I put it next to it and I pin it next to this paragraph, the paragraph can shoot off onto the next page or shoot off onto the last page. So I went as near as I could with that. So if those are the images you meant, then yes, you could.
Danielle has qualified the question, which I'm just putting in the chat.
Right. You were thinking of the preface and on the page before the table of contents, instead of white having an image. Yes, you could if you wanted to. Whatever you want to do that suits the work that you're working with. I mean, up until the COVID thing, our church magazine had to be in numbers of 4, and it was 16 pages. No, it was 8 pages, wasn't it? Our church magazine's now 16, and sometimes it's 17 or 15, which wouldn't print out. But now it's distributed digitally, so it doesn't matter. So it really depends on what you want to do for whatever it is you're creating. And there are times you break the rules. I mean, you can't break the rules if you're sending it off for print and it's got to be a certain size with a certain bleed on it and a certain everything else. But it's very forgiving if you're distributing digitally. So depends on what you're producing, and it's up to you how you work that out. The only caveat would be, if somebody else has got to do something with it, you would at a minimum have to explain what you've done. But other than that, completely up to you. Right.
And Renee says the table of contents with pics and chapter names.
Yes, you can. But it depends on the size. What it's doing is it's just including what's in just before the chapter, the name. It's just including that image. The ones I put in were 40 pixels. The reason for that was it worked nicely in terms of showing it you in a single column and in 2 and 3 columns. That's what I mean, just for demo purposes. If you wanted them smaller, like just an icon size, you do have a couple of issues. It tends to put the text next to it if there's space for it. So I didn't really have time to play around. and work out, what dirty hack would I have to deploy to have these images the size they are in the flow of the document and a different size in the table of contents. If I was going to try that, I'd be looking at adjusting the styles. But I just didn't have the time to fiddle. Had to find all the pigs and horses, you see. Do you know, I had about 90 pages looking for pigs and horses. And then I found this art file and it had all of them in. And I thought, thank God for that. Because otherwise it was going to take a long, long time. So not by default, you would have to change the style to make that work. But I suspect that you could do that. Right. From Patricia, question. When I change the base style in one document, when opening a previous book, it messes up the other books. How do you prevent problems with dozens of books? That shouldn't happen unless they're linked in terms of being a master and a subdocument setup. Because a file is an individual file and me changing a style in one shouldn't change it in another. The only way that would happen is if you've got it embedded in... So you've got a main file and you've got 5 files embedded in it and you're changing the main one. The other way it would happen is if you've made a change and then you've made that the default. That could cause problems. So if it's one of those two scenarios, it would be understandable. If it's not, if these files are totally separate, then no, that shouldn't happen. Something is going wrong. As you saw tonight, I mean, I have had Affinity Publisher crash on me at least a dozen times while I've been prepping just that session. Sometimes it was clicking on an image, sometimes it was dragging an image in. You also saw that, it's put it in, but now the style isn't right. There's a couple of bugs in there, let's say that. The good news is every single time it crashed, it did recover everything that I had open. Do you know, I always think that's impressive with Camtasia, while I'm effing and blinding about the fact that it shouldn't have crashed in the first place. But Camtasia does usually recover stuff, and Affinity Publisher recovered it as well. Okay, I thought there would be more questions than that. Are we all just chatting now? Oh... Let's try and catch up. We'll tell you what. No, there's stuff higher up, isn't there? That was before. Is this just yakking that was going on? Kim didn't know there was a talk panel. Now you do. That should automatically come up. The problem is, if you've never had it open before and you put a table of contents in and then you double click the table of contents, this panel might appear and you think, oh, that's handy. And then you would know that that table of contents panel existed. But if, for whatever the reason, it's opening behind another panel, inside the left or the right, and you've got quite a lot of panels open, you hardly see it. You could totally miss it. Let me show you that. We're already sharing that. That's grand. Right, let's come out of that.
Patience has a sort of related affinity question.
Stick it in there. We'll look at it. Right, where's my panel gone? There's my table of contents panel. Right, what? Why are you not bringing that across? There we go. Across you come. Right, you can see that says table of contents. And you can see up here I've got pages, assets, find and replace pre-flight. Looks great. If the more you have in here, now you can't see pages, you can't see assets. That's become FAR, find and replace. The one that's at the front will have the full name. But the more that you put in there, or the more that has appeared in there and you were not aware of what on earth was going on, the harder it is to actually find it. So if I'm on something like find and replace, I can't really see that that's the table of contents. So if it automatically appeared, you could have missed it. So don't beat yourself up for the fact that you did not know that that was there. Oh, I've got weird dancing going on here. But we'll press on with that. Right, is that in here?
Yeah, I'll just put it in.
Right. Can you use a touch screen convertible Windows PC as a graphics tablet, so to speak? Yeah, you should be able to. Not done it myself. You've got a Surface, haven't you? Is it on your Surface? He hasn't got a clue. When was the last time that was turned on?
Oh, months ago.
Oh, that was a really worthwhile purchase, that. No, it's handy for things like that. I will get him to charge it up and we'll have a look.
It doesn't need charge.
Oh, no, it doesn't, does it? It holds its charge for like a year.
Yeah.
I wish my iPad did. That dies in my hand. Oh, it's been on 20 minutes, it's dead. No, the Surface does keep its power well. We'll test it and we'll let you know. Right, I saw something in here. I don't know where you've put this now. Was it at the end? Oh, that was what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Was it in the red bit in this file? Because I thought I saw it as it whizzed past, but then I'm not sure that I did.
Just above the timings block.
There it is. Right.
So yes.
Yes. Oh, right. Okay. They made a very strange decision, did Affinity, and I hadn't had a good experience with their workbooks. They are more of a show and tell than anything else. And, unless you want to make exactly what the show and tell is to the letter, which is a bit silly, it's a bit hit and miss whether the demonstration in there, whether the show and tell will show and tell you exactly what you want. And I felt that with the designer one, which was first, I think, or photo. But the first two, the other issue I had with the first two, the way that it was shipped, they were shipped, I think, drop shipped via Amazon. And both of them were damaged. And I got onto them and I said, the packaging on this is utterly ridiculous. It was in plastic on the inside, but, there was so little packaging on the outside, they were both damaged. And then they announced the Affinity Publisher workbook. And I was in two minds, but I thought, no, you might as well. You've got the other two. So I put my order in within 7 minutes of the email, and they had grossly underestimated demand, grossly underestimated what supply they'd got as well. And they tried doing it across Black Friday, and Amazon will only ship a certain number. And I think that number was something stupid, like 10 a day. Normally it's over 250, but it was a silly number. So we all went into a backlog. And when we were told we were getting them in 2 weeks, you must be kidding. It was like 2 months. Eventually it rolled up. I think mine arrived just before Christmas, and I know Tracy had issues, and it arrived like Valentine's Day. But the problem was, and this is the bit that they maybe didn't know about all those other issues, but the thing that they did know was that there was a big update coming, a big update. And it included data merge. And the workbook didn't. Which was why I spent the entire night that it was released hitting it with a hammer, trying to make it do this data merge. I really wanted to do something specific with the data merge. It was the bingo cards. Would it do it? Would it heck? So, and there was no instructions, no manual, no nothing. And we've got a video. Yeah, I know, that's not what I want to do. There's two ways of working with the data merge, and obviously there's not really any good information out there. So would you prefer incremental stuff where a book focused on one thing, or do you want the soup to nuts on it? That could take a while, couldn't it? But at least it'd have data merge in it. So you could do data merge on its own. Right, have I got any more questions? Right, let me see where that went. Right down the bottom, looking for questions, right. Either with InDesign or Affinity Publisher, I have trouble when I need to put the page numbers. They always get in the wrong place. One there, one rather to the left, etc. Now, that's strange. I'm assuming you're putting them on a master page. If they're on a master page, I can't really see them moving. I did a whole section on master pages. Let me have a look for that. Working with images, master pages. Yeah. The master pages one, there was a lot on page numbers in there. They shouldn't move. The thing to think about with master pages is that there is a thing called smart masters. And smart masters is basically the fact that you can nest them. And if you've nested them, that could potentially cause what you're seeing. It's unlikely, but it could. But if it's happening in InDesign as well, that's quite bizarre, isn't it? I can show you that. Let's go back in here. Oh, what's wrong with it now? It's playing with my mind tonight, this. No, I don't want you moving on. I want you to go away. That's right. Right, this one hasn't got any page numbers. So how I would handle the page number situation is go to the pages, and you have two options in here, master pages and pages. There's nothing to stop you on an individual page putting a page number if that's what you want. So if I just wanted up here, just to have a page number because I can, right? If I go up to text and insert fields and page number, it will put the page number on. That is page 9. And it really is page 9. But 9 times out of 10, that's not what you want. You want the page numbers in a certain place on either side. That's when you go to the master pages to put the page numbers on. So I have Master A on here, and that has no page numbers or anything else either. So we'll leave, I'll tell you what we'll do with that. We'll do it properly. We will. Right. Spread properties, Master A. We will say that is blank. No, we won't. We'll put it on there because if I don't, I'll have to do it all manually. So no, we won't. We'll go in there and we'll say that's page numbers. Right, page numbers. There's just no page numbers on it yet. Okay, double click on there, and this is the margins of this master page. So what I'd be looking to do on here is put my page numbers in. So at the bottom there, click into there, exactly the same procedure for doing it. Insert fields, page number. Don't disappear on me. Where have you gone? Oh, this is doing weird stuff tonight. There we go. Right, let's get that down to manageable, and I tend to put it in the middle, and then I take that and I align it like that, so you can see that it twangs to the centre with the green thing. So I take that, make a copy of it, and drag that over here and do the same thing. So the green line is showing you where it's going to be on the right hand side, and the red lines are showing you that it's matched up to the one on the left. Which it isn't. It's lying. Let me move that up. That's better. It's lined up with the one on the left. Because this master page was already applied to all of the book, I can go in here and the page numbers appear at the bottom, and they don't move. If you actually click them, you can move them by doing some rare incantation, but you'll see that they've got a cross on them. They're not meant to be moved. That is telling you that this is on the master. Don't move it. Now, is that page 9? Well, if we go back here, that is page 3. So no, we would need in this case, to get that right, to have this as chapter 1, starting on page 1. And that is where your document section manager comes into play. At the minute, there's one section, it's got the entire book in it. We want to create a second section that starts on page 3. And we want to restart the numbering at 1. And when we close it, we now have that on page 1. You'll also notice that, which is just sat here on this page, did say 9 and now it says 7. So it doesn't matter whether it's on the page itself or it's on the master in terms of the number, but in terms of placement, to get it exact and precise, you do need to put that on the master. I'm wondering if I put that somewhere and the number changed. So let me go into the section manager there. Would that move? And if it did, how far? So if I had that restarting at page 20, that's going to have 2 numbers in it. And then it moves. Now that could partly be because, move this back over here, it's left aligned. So if it was right aligned, that should happen less. So let's go back into the section manager and change that to 3. No, we wanted 1, didn't we? And then that doesn't move as much. So it could be something like that that's going on. But it shouldn't happen if it's done on a master. If it's done on a master, it should be fine. Right, okay then. Do we have any other questions? No. Lots of chat. Love to see lots of chat. That is good. Well, hopefully I will see you all again next week. I just don't know what day next week, but I do like to keep you on your toes. So hopefully you'll enjoy the index one as well. If you think of any questions about tables of contents, now or later when you start using them, just get in touch with me. I'm a little bit behind in communications, but I will get there. I promise I will get there.
Alice says, how do you copy it?
How do you copy what?
I don't know.
Was that the page number that I just did? A couple of ways of doing that. Let's come out of there. Right, if you want to copy anything, you can either Command and C and Command and V. So with that, if I do that, I've now actually got 2 copies of it. If it was the page number on here, so I took this one and I took it over there, let's get rid of that. You can either copy and paste, so copy, paste, and I've got 2 copies. Or you can select it, hold the Option or Alt key down, and drag it into place. So I'm still holding that Option key down. I'm just going to drop it, and then I pick it up again, and then I do the lining up like that. So either just a simple copy and paste, and then use the guides to line it up, or hold the Option key down and drag. Right, so last call for questions. I can't keep up here. This is moving that fast, I can't keep up. Oh, I'm the queen of all things digital. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. Okay, if we have answered all of the questions, fantastic. I'll catch up with the chat. Mike makes a note of all the chat, don't you? So I will be able to catch up with all the chat because I feel I've missed so much tonight. I mean, going on and I missed it all. So I will catch up with that, I promise. Right, Tiffany Inks. I love that, Tiffany Inks. It's Patricia, isn't it? But I think Tiffany Inks is such a lovely name. I could put affiliate links on the website and then ask for a link to all the old YouTube videos. We could do that as well, couldn't we? We could. We will look into it all. Because this one has been a feature demo. It's been, yes, I've used practical demonstrations, but it was demonstrating a feature. Whereas the layouts were like a project-based thing. So I actually was thinking, as I was looking through this stuff, oh, that'd be nice to do, that'd be nice to do. But they'd be like project-based, starting, like when we did the build with me. So I predict there might be some build with me's. Do you like build with me's? Let me know, let me know. Right, I think I've checked all of these. Thank you for the lovely comments about yes, you would buy the book in a heartbeat. Awesome. And I think that's it for the questions. Have you put any more in? No, you haven't. I think we're done. Oh, Kim didn't know that we call it VIP. We call it VIP, Kim. There you go. I don't know where I am in this chat. Ages ago. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being with me. I hope you now have more clarity on tables of contents. Not difficult as long as you do it all in the right order. But it is one of those features that's like a spider's web. If the styles aren't right, if the sections aren't right, it all goes to cock. So that's not great. But it's when you've got everything, you'll be good to go. Right. Okay. I am going to say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.